Good morning. We are back with another Northeastern Huskies episode of the Morning Skate. I am Brownie. Once again, my co-host Ked can't wake up before noon, so he could not join us today. But I am joined by the reigning National Goaltender of the Year, top 10 finalist for the Patty Caz, first team All-American, the reigning Hockey East Goaltender of the Year, first team All-Star, All-USCHO team, the Beanpot top goaltender, Hockey East all-tourney team, three-time Hockey East all-academic team, and the Northeastern program record holder for single-season wins, games played, and minutes. That's right, Fort Phillips, the brick wall of Gwyneth, Gwyn Philips. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. I told you that was going to be a big intro.
Yeah, you said some things that I didn't even know, so.
Hey, you earned them all, man. I mean, that's all you. Well, let's jump right in. Athens, Ohio. Oh, are you a Cleveland fan, Browns fan, Cincy?
So I went to the same. Well, I would have gone to the same high school as Joe Burrow. So.
Cincy,
Yeah,
then. Nice.
by default, yeah.
All right, fair enough. I was going to give you condolences if you were a Cleveland fan after yesterday, but we'll just continue on. How'd you get your start in hockey? Who was your biggest influence? Who put you on skates?
So like you said, Athens, Ohio, Southeast Ohio, not really a mecca of hockey.
Yeah.
But there's a university there with a pretty good ACHA team. So there is like a rink there that had a youth program, and I don't know how my brother got into it. I'm sure my dad just thought it would be fun to try, and so my brother got into hockey, and then he's like 6 years older than me, so I wanted to be just like my brother, and so I ended up putting the skates on when I was pretty young, following in his footsteps. And then at some point, I took a wrong turn and started playing goalie, but I guess it worked out in the end.
Well, I was going to ask, because usually it's like there's the two typical answers, right? There's the kid with the older siblings that's like, well, the only way they let me play is if I played net. Or there's the kids that are like into the ice time and the gear. They're like, well, I can be on the ice the entire time and I get all the coolest gear. So I was just curious if you fell into either of those camps.
I don't know. I don't know what the draw was. It wasn't like my brother putting the pads on me to shoot on me that I can remember. Maybe it was the equipment. I remember, that Pee Wee tournament they have in Quebec?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, my brother was at that, and I went. I'm pretty sure I'm telling this story right. And that was like around the time I wanted to be a goalie so bad. So I remember like forcing my dad to buy me a pair of pads at like a Play It Again Sports up there.
Yeah.
And I think that was the start of it. Like I remember walking up and down the hallways in those pads at my brother's hotel. So I guess maybe it was the equipment. But it took a lot to get my dad to let me do that. He, like, when you're really little and you have like every 2 minutes the whistle blows and you change goalies.
Yeah.
I'd always do the goalie thing, and around that age, my volunteer coach was the chief fireman, and my dad was like, if you push this, like I will be burning your house down. So it took a lot of convincing. So I don't know what my draw was, but clearly there must have been something.
If we ever asked your dad, he'd probably like, you know how expensive goaltender equipment is? That's usually the big pushback. Because the way kids grow, it's not just skates, it's everything,
I mean, I think he didn't like the pressure. He didn't want
okay.
He didn't want everyone to be mad at him when I let the goal in. And I can't even say it was the equipment because I was wearing duct tape pads for a while. Like he saved his money as much as he could. Let's not feel too bad for him.
Was there a player that you looked up to growing up, like even a skater, not necessarily a goalie?
I mean, mostly just I didn't really watch hockey growing up, and I still don't, which I probably should. But
I think what you're doing is working, so I think you're fine.
I went to school in Pittsburgh, so everyone, Fleury and Crosby were always pretty influential. They just also from the stories, they were always pretty good people and stuff. So I guess if I'm gonna pick an NHL player, it'd be them.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good ones to go after.
Right.
Did you play other sports growing up? I know you played lacrosse in high school. Anything else besides that?
Yeah, so lacrosse in high school, and then I did all the sports, like gymnastics when you're really little, soccer for a while. I was really I like hated track, but I was really good at it. And so I did track all through middle school. Um, what else? Oh, volleyball through middle school, but not like it was always hockey for
Yeah.
I'd go to after school practice for volleyball and then drive up to Columbus for practice for hockey. So, yeah.
It's always interesting though, because you hear like there's always kids that have success in sports, to varying degrees. But the one common thread, like with D1 athletes and pro athletes, is like, yeah, I played all kinds of sports growing up. I tried everything. But the kids that burn out are the kids, I feel, from my experience, are the kids that are, you know, oh, it was hockey 24/7 all year round, and I just feel like it's an interesting learning thing for parents, uh, the to have that diverse background, interacting with different kids, playing different sports, trying different skills, and I think it benefits you in the long run. No, it's just a common thread.
Totally. I mean, there's a handful of my teammates now that are like, "Oh, like I if I wanted to, I probably could have focused on this sport and gone do
Yeah,
like I know Skylar Irving is always like, yeah, I was actually a pretty good lacrosse goalie. Like I considered making that my route, and I think that's pretty cool. And I think it expands your horizons as a person and as an athlete. You're just doing different things, getting good at different skills. So yeah, I totally am an advocate for the multi-sport stuff.
I'm sure you've heard Coach Carp's like historic story about his 7 goals in lacrosse that time.
No, but
Oh
we
my
have
gosh!
talking for
Don't bring
hours.
it up because you'll lose a half hour. He got us into the playoffs with a 7 goals one game, and it was an epic moment. And
I'm surprised that hasn't come up in
I'm
every
surprised it's not in his Twitter bio, to be perfectly honest with
Yeah.
you. When you were growing up, so you play right-handed, right? Yeah, catch
Yeah.
righty.
Yeah.
So were there coaches that had issues with that, or coaches that tried to change your style?
The only issue I had with that was finding hockey sticks
Okay.
and gloves. Honestly, I never had a coach try to flip me or anything. Every time I do a camp, though, they're like explaining, go to your glove side, and then they look at me, roll your eyes, and say like, or your blocker side. But um, and honestly, I think it's been like a benefit for
Oh
me.
yeah.
I mean, players want to shoot glove, it hits my block. Like it just even my teammates who I've been playing with for 5 years, they're like, "Oh yeah, I always forget your backwards." I'm like, you shouldn't. Like you're looking at me, you should probably see like what you're actually seeing."
I mean,
But
that's kind of a cue to pick your head up maybe a little more.
exactly, exactly. So I don't know. I think it's always been a benefit for me because it throws the player or the shooter off pretty quick.
Yeah, I was just curious because there are times where, like, even watching you guys, I forget, and then I look at something and I'm like, oh yeah, she's opposite handed. Yeah, and it's not really, you can't call it backwards. It's different handed, I guess.
Yeah, most people call it backwards.
You touched on Shady Side. So you went to Shady Side Academy. So it's a K through 12. Were you there for the whole run, or did you go there towards the end?
No, so like I said, with following my brother's footsteps, he went there in high school because their high school program started have like they had a dorming setup.
Mm-hmm.
So I followed his footsteps, went in my high school freshman year.
Gotcha.
Um and they had a really good relationship with Penn's Elite, which is the club team I played for,
Yep.
all of like my development. So um yeah, I went through all throughout high school and lived on campus 5 days a week. Worked out pretty well. And then I was
Makes you
able to,
grow up a little quicker too, I would imagine.
yeah, yeah, it was, I think it was beneficial though in the long run, not only academically because it's such a good school, but also just like, yeah, like you said, like growing up, learning how to kind of be on my own, put me a little bit ahead of some of my peers. But I know a lot of high school or a lot of college kids now go to prep schools. Like we have a bunch of Williston kids,
Yep.
Cushing.
So how big are the graduating classes of, what was it roughly? I'm just
Um,
curious. I
yeah,
looked it up, but I couldn't figure it out.
I think mine was like one of the bigger ones at like just under like 120, but I think the
Okay.
one below me was like 90.
All right.
So it
So
was
pretty
pretty
decent size.
solid.
Yeah.
I mean, you know everyone. the dorming community was a little bit smaller, so like it was pretty intimate. Like I don't know, like I think it was when I went there maybe like 60 kids, 30 and 30 guys, 30 girls, but it could be kind of off on that.
Sky Moore was in your grade, the wide receiver.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
was
that's got to be pretty cool to see him in the NFL.
totally. He was a really interesting kid. Like he was always nose to the grindstone. Like he was always in the library doing homework. He was never like never in the student lounge like messing around. So when he did so well and like he was good on our football team, sure. And then
Right.
when he went to college and did well, I was really happy for him. And then, going and scoring his first touchdown in the Super Bowl was
Yeah.
unreal.
I mean,
Kind of wish I knew him
good
better
thought.
and I could like brag about him, but
I think you can brag about it. You went to high school with Sky Moore. I mean,
yeah.
it's pretty neat. 3-time first team all WIHLMA and 3-time league champ. And I saw here that you played wing and net.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. So that's Wilma. It's our league.
Wilma. Okay, that makes more sense than me
Yeah.
spelling it all out.
Yeah, it's it was like all over the board competitive wise. When I went there, there was like one team that would give us fits, another team that could like kind of push us, and then some teams just like dropped off because there just wasn't like a lot of women's hockey, and so a lot of times, and they were like when I was there, they were like 3 goalies, and so
On your team.
yeah, on my team.
Okay.
So, and I think all 3 of us could play out. So instead of like having 2 backups where like you don't even need one, we would just kind of rotate and play player.
That's great.
And it just like made it more fun because honestly, like I wasn't getting high quality shots a lot of times, or like sometimes I wouldn't get any shots. So it just kind of made it a little bit more fun. Like you said, like that's like that multi-sport kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
I got to do different things and it was just kind of fun.
No, that's great. We had Kelly Dyer Hayes on a few weeks ago, and she was talking about how she played net I think she played net for the men's team and then would skate out for the women's team and then flop around just to get more ice time. And I thought those situations are awesome if you get to do that. Yeah, for sure. And you played lacrosse there also. Are you the same hand when you skate out?
I'm a right shot, so yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. That would have been kind of cool if you were the opposite.
I mean, that happens, and I don't know how you could do that.
So I play hockey lefty, but golf right-handed, which is why my golf is horrible. And lacrosse, I favor my right, but I can play left as well. It's just whatever you're comfortable with. My daughter, who's 7, is she has that little ambidextrous. I'll see her like color either hand, and I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I'm just going to keep her, I don't want to be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's awesome though.
Yeah, it's neat. It's a neat little thing. So the Pens Elite you touched on before, you were there for 10 years?
That sounds, probably.
Now that was Crosby's brainchild, right? He got that going, I believe, when he started, right?
Honestly, I don't know. I know he's got a development program, I think.
Or maybe that's what it was. You saw the thing recently with Logan Cooley. Did you see that story?
I missed that one.
So Logan Cooley came up and he started in the Pens development thing. He grew up in the Pittsburgh area.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, 6 years later, him and Crosby took a face-off against each other in the NHL, and it was just like this surreal moment. But apparently, Crosby chopped him across the legs during the face-off. Like Crosby gave it no, like whatever, buddy. That's great. We'll take a picture, but yeah, which is a great Sid story on top of it. Just speaks to him. I was just curious if you saw. It's just a pretty neat little story. I'm pretty sure Crosby was the driving force between the development, but maybe not the Pens Elite.
Yeah, I think now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure like I'd help run camps where little kids would be wearing like his like jersey kind of thing. So I think there's like a development program that is like, his thing, but I could be wrong.
No, that's the top research we offer here at the Morning Skate. So that's pretty good. The Pens Elite, though, I assume would fill in terms of the lack of quality shots that you mentioned earlier. I assume you were getting your quality shots there.
Yeah, so Pensley on Tuesdays would practice at my prep school.
Okay.
Like that was that good relationship I was talking about. And then, on Sunday we would have like a 8-hour day practice kind of thing. And then on the weekends we would go play like, the top teams. So that kind of filled in. And then prior to high school I was still playing boys. So yeah, I would say I got my fill of high level hockey.
Quality shots.
Yeah.
And then the World Selects tournament, you were a 3-time champ too. I mean, not a bad run there.
Yeah, that was just always a fun thing to do. I don't know. I made a lot of friends that way.
With different type of pressure, I'm assuming you're there just for the tourney, and it's not the grind, right? More so.
Yeah, I think like it's like a 10-12 day adventure. The first like 2 days are tourism, the next 2 days are practice, then after that it's just like a tournament. So it was really like a pay to play thing, but it was really fun.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask when you said the tourism, so you did they had time built in that you guys could tour and stuff.
Yeah, totally. Like we did all kinds of stuff. Like we did the Blue Lagoon when we were in Iceland. We did like a gondola thing in Bolzano. Yeah, we did all kinds of stuff. And even like I think when we were in Italy after that trip, my parents and another family stayed for another 2 weeks to like really get our tourism.
Nice.
So, yeah, there was plenty of time to like see the things, get see the culture.
Well, it's pretty cool too to get that international experience when you're that young too. I mean, even for like beer league, we go up for a Canadian tournament if we win the local here, and just to go across the border and be like, "What are you here for?" Like, "Oh, I'm here for hockey," and they look at you like, "You?" And like, "Yeah, man." So it's that it's unique, and it's a experience that not everybody gets to have. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
USA Hockey Development Camp. You've been there 3 times. Then the National Select Camp, National Festival, National Goaltender Camp, and then the big one, the Collegiate Select Team Series versus Canada. I mean, I'll brag for you. 2 games played, 2-0-0 with a .909 save percentage. So, I mean, I think that's pretty good. I don't know how else you would slice that up. But what was that experience like? I mean, you talk about, is that a step? Could you see the difference level going from Hockey East to that Select Series?
Yeah, totally. That was really cool to play in that. It definitely was a next level, and I could feel it every shot, every play. And like there were some Hockey East kids out there, like Nui was out there, and I think, and so there was some, but it was definitely next level, and like even my stats show it, right? Like, so but it was so cool to play like the best Canadians, and then to be practicing with the best Americans. It was quite the experience and quite the honor.
Have you been watching the PWHL at all? I know you guys were there for the opening night. I saw you guys there. But have you been watching on TV or besides that first game?
Yeah, I've been pretty good about watching the Montreal games for my friend Murph.
Yeah, for Murph, right?
Yeah, and so I watched a few others.
She's actually playing with Marie-Philippe Poulin there. Top
Yeah,
line minutes for Murph.
Yeah, I'm waiting for her first goal, but she's got a couple assists. She assisted one, 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Did a two assist night the game before, so just counting down the games until she gets her first goal.
So now it's funny. I'm curious how you view this, because for me, watching, like, it used to be you'd watch Alina get the puck or Chloe get the puck, and you're like, all right, they're going to dust like 4 people, right? And now it's like, oh, they're not able to do that anymore. It's crazy, right? To see, like, I'm not saying they're playing poorly by any stretch of the imagination. It's just the competition around them is just crazy versus what they were dealing with at in college, NCAA.
Totally. And I mean, I hope that they're coping with that well, but it's got to be a transition that is kind of eye-opening, but it's at the same time, it's kind of cool that like, all right, now they're playing with the best of the best.
Yeah.
So that's got to be really kind of an honor for them. So
yeah, it's funny too. The home teams are having a lot of trouble in the new league. We were talking about the other day, and I wonder if there's so much, because of the new league, so much stuff they have to do in the run up to puck drop, that it's like it's taxing them a little bit. Because I think I don't think a home team won for like 6 games or something, the first 6 or 5 games, and I'm just like, let them just get ready, you know. I mean, I
I didn't
get it
even
for
know
the
that.
first few. Yeah, no, it was pointed out to me by somebody else. All right, so to Northeastern, were there other schools that you were talking to prior to Northeastern, or in the mix, I guess I should say?
Yeah, I mean, I was being recruited before the rule change, so I was, like, way too young to know, like, what I was doing, so, I was going on all the visits, trying to narrow down the schools, but, in the end, like, I think I just kinda got, like, sick of it, and I put up my hands, and I was like, "This seems like a pretty good option," and then, it just, like, in the end worked out so well because it was the best option, but I think I was just, like, 15, I was like, "I don't know anymore, like, I'm done with this," like, which was not by any means, like, a good thing to do, but I was so sick of it. It was just so much pressure, and
It's
I
a lot. It's a lot
yeah,
to ask a kid that age to make a decision that's going to impact the rest of their life.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were just, like, so many things that 14-year-old me didn't know to question, so, I just got lucky that all of those things I should have been questioning just were the right fit and the right answer at Northeastern.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Is there any significance to the number 37?
No,
No.
I really like the number 7, and, I think, like, one of the years going into boys AAA, my coach was like he told me I'd have a goalie number, which I don't think that's real, and, like, what even is a goalie number? Like, Roby on my team is, like, 72.
Yeah.
So, I was like, "Okay, what about 37?" Which all like, still isn't a goalie number, but I guess because it's, in the 30s, and so I kinda ran with that, and then going into college, I was like, "I might as well keep
Yeah.
it."
Yeah.
There's my dad was freaking out because it still really wasn't my number, like, I was still, like, number 1 primarily on, like, Penn's Elite, and he was like, "You're gonna ruin your whole life, like, everything's gonna go south," and I was like, like, it'll be fine, I think," so I ran with it.
So it's funny. We my co-host makes a comment every single time that whenever I bring up Bergeron, he'll be like, "Oh, it's 22 minutes in, and you brought up Bergeron." I was hoping that you're going to be like, "Oh, it's because of Bergeron," but it's all right. I'll let it go. Um, so the academics, obviously, Northeastern's top notch with the work study program, the 5th year availability. The thing I wanted to ask you, so you came in recruited as the starter and then ended up as the backup to Aaron Frankel. Um, what was that adjustment like? I know it's hard as the mindset, but the one common thread with everyone I've talked to, coaches, teammates, is how team first and selfless you are. That's the common thread through everything. And everyone appreciates all your hard work. It's just I know you're a competitive person. You have to be a D1 athlete. And I'm just curious how that transition, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I was recruited to be this a starter more or less, but like we just talked about, that was when I was 14. I still had like 4 more years of high school, and so I think around my senior year was maybe it was like my junior year is kind of when Erin was starting to like show just how good she was,
Mhm.
and so then it kind of started clicking. I was like, hey, like I'm not gonna walk in there. Like I wasn't, promised anything, and now I'm certainly not. And so when I got into, my freshman year, it was an adjustment that I had to, figure out and slowly learn. And I think looking back on it, I definitely did some things wrong, but I think all in all, like I learned a lot about myself. It gave me 3 solid years to kind of get some development under my belt. Learn from Erin. Like her and I don't play anything alike, so it honestly gave me a good opportunity to pick up some different tools for my toolbox.
Mhm.
And honestly, like outside of that, like I wasn't the starting goalie, so I had time to like really set up my academics. And now I'm like in a pretty good spot now that I'm, the starting goalie and have a lot of things to do hockey wise. Like I'm pretty in a pretty good spot academically to like be able to continue to like run those 2 paths.
No, no, that's great. It's just hard. I know the competitive fire. It's hard. And listen, as a quote unquote number 2, for those who aren't aware, you went 13-1-0 with a .64 goals against and a .969 save percentage. So that number 2 at Northeastern would have been number 1 anywhere you chose to go. So I think it speaks to your dedication to the program and your teammates. I really do.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, people asked like if I was gonna transfer, especially that last year when Aaron came back, and
Yeah.
like really wasn't a thought in my mind to transfer. I thought like I love the school, I love the team, I love the program. Um, so yeah, no, I wouldn't. That was never on the table for me. Not with
Well,
this team.
common thread with everyone I talk to that's involved with the program, or even some of the competitors that I've spoken to, like casually, like not in a sit down interview like this, the one thing that everybody talks about is the program and the character of the players that are involved.
Mhm.
And it's really apparent. I mean, I won't name some of your competitors and the way they conduct themselves on and off the ice, but it's clearly a different standard that's been set at Northeastern, and I just think I think it's really good. So the one thing I wanted to ask too regarding you backing up Frankel, I know you get your reps in practice, but was there stuff that you did like visualizations or stuff that you did during the games to keep you like dialed in, keep you sharp?
Um, to be honest, there was only one time I had to go in during a game. And so I had a lot of faith that Erin was gonna be able to go through the whole game. I don't think she ever really the one time I had to go in, it wasn't really on her. It was just like some
Like
crazy
a
stuff
wake up call
going on.
for everybody else, kind of.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
like so, every day I went in, warmed up adequately, did my stuff, but I had a lot of faith that Erin was gonna be able to hold down the fort. Um, But off ice, Coach Flint set us up with some VR stuff, and like I kind of tried to get into that. But yeah, all in, it was usually the same routine. If I was playing, Coach Flint would usually give me a pretty good lead time. So if like I'm playing on a Friday or Saturday, he would have told me by Tuesday, just because like
Oh, okay.
it is like a hard like it's a mental thing that it's
Yep.
like okay, like I like it. So that warning was good to have, but yeah.
Well, he is the goalie whisperer. I mean, they got goalie you over there, the way you guys are going. So freshman year, you walked in with your class, Carter Knoll, Megan Carter, Katie Knoll, Peyton Anderson, Alexa Matsis, and Peyton Cullington. So you walked in, Capistrand was the captain, right? Andrea Renner. You had like some really solid leadership there. I mean, you had a perfect run, 5-0-0, not a big deal. First three collegiate starts, 3 shutouts, keep the change. Was it more of a like, oh my gosh, I'm in the NCAA, or were you just like, yeah, whatever, it's good? What was your like moment that you walked in and you were like, whoa? Or did you have one? You might not have.
I don't remember having an exact moment, but I definitely remember being like, okay, this is next level. Like, um, you're at the rink every day, working out every day. You're showing up to the rink at least 45 minutes early to like get warmed up. Whereas like in high school, it was like, okay, I just ate the fattest dinner. I practiced in 20 minutes. I'm gonna walk to the rink and like throw on my equipment and go like shoot some pucks. Like,
Right.
and then like, oh, we have a team lift twice a week that's like not monitored, not structured. So
Take a nap in the corner when no one's watching.
totally
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it was definitely like, oh, like this is it, like this is the next level. And like Cappy and like you said, our leaders had a lot of years under their belt, and Cappy, love her, take it, leave it. Like she was honest with you, she was blunt, and like I think a lot of people respected that. So you didn't want to mess up because she'd call you out on it. It's right there.
She
So
does that on the Nesson broadcast, which I appreciate. She'll say it. I don't hear your broadcast typically because I'm at the rink, unless you're like too far for me to go watch. But for
mhm.
other ones, she's good like that. And I don't know. I hope people appreciate it at Nesson like you do. You know what I mean? I hope it
Yeah,
serves her because I appreciate it and I think she does a great job.
yeah,
I think that's a big part of it where I think a lot of times on TV, people are afraid to, they don't want to say the wrong thing. They're like, oh, I used to play with them.
yeah. No, she doesn't sugarcoat much, which like we always talk about like as now I'm a fifth year, it was 5 years ago, and we're like, like she
Yeah.
was the best for that. Like
Yeah.
there was no, there was a line, and if you crossed it, you're getting called out. So we loved it.
Your sophomore year, Murphy transferred over. So this was like the inception of the 600-point line, right? That's when it all started. You had Jovetic and Abby were there, and you had Fontaine, you had Hobson, McGinnis. I mean, that's some pretty big names on the back end for you. And then my favorite player, Tessa Ward, was a senior also. I love the way she plays or played. So I assume like now it's a lot more comfortable. You got this unbelievable D that you're playing behind. You know, if you want to speak to, Fontaine liked to rush, I know, but you had a lot of stay home defensemen there. I assume that made your life a lot easier as a netminder.
Yeah, I'm trying to think my sophomore year. I think, I mean, like you said, like that was a very strong year of D and forwards. So, I mean, we always joke about Erin having like more assists than most players because she would put out a rebound to the corner and Skylar Fontaine would grab it, go end to end and score. And
yeah,
I mean, that was wow. Now that you're saying this like lineup, that was quite the team. Wow. Yeah.
And I didn't realize with McGinnis that slap shots are hereditary. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, wait a minute, what? That doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, I don't know. That was like her coming out year too. Like she just popped off that year, so that was really exciting for the team too to have someone kind of like sprout out like that. Take that any day.
And then your junior year. So this is what I always think as a player, be it high school or college. The junior year is when you transition to that leadership role. You start to become one of the vets. You know, the seniors are looking at you as like, hey, we're in charge of this. The freshmen and sophomores are looking at you like, please help me. You know, and then you had Maddie Mills transferred over. You had Frankel's Patty Kaz run, which to be on the inside of that must have been awesome to see. And then you had Irving come in and Mariano and Paige Taborski. That was the freshman class. So now, how was that transition for you? Did you feel any different? Was there a bit of pressure or a different type of pressure even?
I would say it was like I mentioned I did some things wrong, and I would say like I didn't really come out of my shell as like a person or as a leader until my 5th year when I started to play, and I kind of regret that. I think I could have been a bigger voice on the team, but I just didn't feel like comfortable.
Well, I don't think there's a wrong path. I don't think you should beat yourself up on that one. Everybody's personality is different.
Yeah, so I think in regards to like that, I was still in a pretty similar role as I was before. But like you said, like we got to, Erin was on her run, and Maddie Mills came in, and me and Maddie, she played for Penn's Elite for like her pre-high school years, and so like I knew who she was because she was so good, and like she was 2 years older than me, so I never played with her, but like that's Maddie Mills, like she was a legend. And so when she came in, she ended up living with me, and I was like kind of like, oh, like is this gonna be weird? Like do we know each other?
How many times do I ask her for a picture before it stops being weird?
Yeah, and then we ended up becoming like best friends, and so that was a really good year for me. Like I kind of like I did, I started to get like a little bit more comfortable. Like I don't know, it took a long time for me, but that was kind of like that was the year. You're right. Like the junior year is kind of like your breakout year a little bit. You're more comfortable with the team. You're the older kids, so
you know the systems. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you first came as a freshman, did you know anybody in the program or on the team?
Wow. I'm trying to think. There's no way the answer is no.
I feel like with everyone, the way you cross play each other, in different leagues and teams. I was just curious.
But yeah, I mean, I remember, like, I think someone was at like USA camps with me and stuff, but I don't think I ever played with any of them. I think the most person like would be Maddie from playing with her from afar. So I'm surprised the answer is no.
And then last year, you had the full, Chloe, Murph, and Alina, the whole mania around that, deservedly so. And since you guys won't say it, I'll say it. When Alina got robbed for the Patty Kaz, I know, don't want to get you in trouble. Coach Flint was like, I didn't say that. You had the historic run in net, another Frozen Four, and this is when I think everybody discovered your love of Ingalls Arena. right? Was last year. It's like your jam, Ingalls Arena, this year and last. I mean, if there's when we get to the favorite rinks, I think we know your answer outside of Matthews.
Yeah, I mean, and if I'm being honest, when I was looking at other schools, Yale was up there, and so maybe it's like a little bit of a grudge match for me.
Nice.
So I don't know, and I do really like that rink. It's cool, and so to go in it and like play well is always icing on top. So
is it a site? Is that what helps a goalie? It's a little. I assume it's a little different than a skater. Like a rink you like versus a rink you don't like. Is the lighting part of it or the backdrop? Can that play into effect? Do you even notice that stuff, or am I overthinking it?
I'm sure goalies do. I don't.
Oh, all right.
There's certain things that I do and don't like about a rink, like BC's is very symmetrical, so I'm always confused on where I am, like which end I'm
Dude,
at. Like,
BC's is a absolute maze figuring out your way around there. Me last year for the Beanpot, I was late everywhere. It was like into the who's that? Oh, morning skate. Sorry, I got lost again. Yeah, every press scrum, everything. I stopped going. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit here. I found where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying.
And then, like, just as an athlete, I no one else feels this way, but I love playing at Walibi. I think, like the BUs. Because
yeah.
They're like one of the few other schools, at least in Hockey East, that can get a pretty good fan section going. And like Northeastern, we always have we have a pretty good section going. Usually, it's like it's fun to be on the receiving end of that. So
seriously, oh yeah, I always wondered if goalies, because the doghouse. Me and my wife have learned that sometimes we should move away from the doghouse when my daughter's with us. But I always wondered if so it doesn't bother you, it fires you up more, would you say?
Yeah, it's just fun. Like, I mean, it's something like all the guys get, guys pack the stadium. So like to have something comparable to that, like from the women's side, it's just fun. It just shows it's just like supportive. Even though they're like rooting against you, it's like, yes, they're here, like we have fans. It's cool. I don't care. And like their band is always like kind of messing with you too. I don't know. I think it's just fun.
No, they actually at the Beanpot last year, they were pretty loud, the BU band. They only brought like a handful of people, but I think they brought all their amps. I think is what it was. And it was pretty loud. Plus everyone, I mean, the one thing that most of Boston can unite in is rooting against BC. So everybody gets on board with that. So now this year, graduate year, with the run that Northeastern's been on over your time there, plus your year last year where you set all those records, did you feel a little different extra pressure, especially with the 600-point line walking out the door? Do you guys feel that?
Yeah. I mean, and I think
a lot of it falls on you and Carter and the defense,
Yeah, I mean, I think coming into the year, I think that was a big, like, hey, like we've got more or less the same decor. And we're losing a lot of strong forwards, but I think we knew offensively we were going to struggle a little bit for a while, and I think at times we hit our grooves, and sometimes it just looks like the puck is like has a force field and won't go into the net. And so I think like if you look at our record, there's a lot of games that are going like 1 goal difference, and so I think we've had to
said that you guys are 10 feet away from undefeated. Which it's a funny line, but if you think about it, he's right.
He's right. No,
the amount of posts and the amount of like just misses on the offensive zone.
Yeah, and it's not like we've had I mean, I don't know if we've lost a game with like there's been like 1 or 2 games with a 2-goal differential where we've lost. Like, so I mean, we are just so close, and I think bit by bit we're figuring it out. But it was just a huge adjustment. Like I said, like you used to be able to just pass the puck to Skylar, or like Alina, Chloe, Murph would take the puck and get you a goal when you needed it, and like we don't have that this year, and so it was almost like we had to like reestablish our identity as a team, and we're figuring it out.
I feel like the run up before the break and then since the break, I feel like you guys are kind of hitting a little bit of a stride. I don't want to jinx it. Carp's always yelling at me not to say stuff that I'm going to jinx something.
Yeah, I mean, we were on like a 5-game win streak.
Yeah.
Couple big wins with like the OT against BU. We had like a random game in the North Shore against BC that we won
Yeah,
in the
that was
Gale.
odd. An
That
odd,
was odd.
yeah.
It was cool. Like it's always fun to do
What's
community
it up in
outreach and stuff
Gloucester,
like
right?
that.
Like a muni rink.
Yeah, but it was like so cold,
Oh, really?
freezing, like
Do
miserable.
you prefer a colder rink for the ice, or do you like it softer, the ice, as a goalie?
There's something you should know about me, and I have no like I'm clueless about goalie stuff. Like
No, I was just curious.
I don't
I
know.
don't really talk to goalies ever. Even when I coached, I'd be like, "You good?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm good." I'd be like,
Yeah.
"See you next game."
I don't know when ice is soft, when ice is hard. I
Oh,
don't know what
okay.
I get
Oh,
my
fair.
skates sharpened at. I don't know what kind of equipment I have. Like, I don't like, that's never been something I've thought about or worried
No,
about.
that's great.
But
That
yeah,
might be the
anyways,
most goalie answer ever, to be.
yeah, we were on a run, and then I would say we were still on a run, but then we kinda had a bump this weekend with
Mm.
Maine. So that's kinda where I'm like, yeah, well, we hit our stride, and then we kinda lose it
But
sometimes.
the Maine was I mean, that's a 1 goal overtime loss, right? So that's not, I mean, that's a bounce, you know?
Yeah, that's what it was. Like we just, we that day we couldn't, we hit posts. We just couldn't finish.
Blame the stairs. It's walking down those stairs. That's what the
That is
stupidest thing ever.
crazy. Yeah.
So I was watching the game, and my sister-in-law is here, and she's like, she'll watch hockey. She loves watching you guys. But she'll watch hockey with me if I have it on. She happened to walk in the room as you guys were going, and I don't know if it was you, but someone was like death grip on the railing walking down the stairs, and she goes, "What are they doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's how you get to the rink." She goes, "Both teams?" I'm like, "Nope, just the visiting team." She's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
There's a locker room where you don't have to do that,
Yeah.
but I don't know like when you do and when you don't get that locker room. So I guess this
It probably
weekend,
depends on your record coming in the opposing
yeah,
team. That's probably what
honestly,
it is.
yeah, and it's so scary. It's like it's not fully padded. Like there's cement, and if you look, there's like kick marks from people's
Yeah.
skates kicking the cement. I'm like I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I know. Um, so, now we're talking about leadership. Now you're actually wearing the letter. And I saw you rocking the C when Carter was out. Does it feel heavy? Is it heavy on the jersey?
Not much change for me.
No. Okay. Well, I get it's a feeling of respect from the team. You know, it's got to be some type of an honor to wear it in general.
Yeah, I mean, it totally is, and I think my leadership and just like my personality, kind of evens the scales with like Meg,
Hmm.
and I think that's really important. And like even Katie and Abby, I'd say are closer to that like Meg side of they're very serious. They're very lead by example, and I'm a little bit more of the like, hey, like what's going on? Like where like
We'll
I'm a
get to
little
that
bit
in the
more of a
lightning
locker
round,
room
but your
kid.
name comes up quite a bit in lightning round questions in the past. So you'll hear that when we get there.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. So I think I just kinda I give a little bit of reprieve, for people to relax and when I was wearing the C, like, like I said, nothing really changed for me because Meg was still leading
mhm.
off ice and, like, on ice, Katie and Abby, they take charge a lot, they're so I don't know.
I
It's
didn't know if you like made a special trip to the refs, be like, "Hey, you guys want to have any questions? You guys can run it by me." You know,
that was
anything like that.
ridiculous. They would come up to me like, I had to meet with them before the game. And they were like, "Okay, if you have any questions, like, just send your assistant captains because you can't talk to us because you're in your net." I'm like, "I know, like, what? I don't know what I'm doing here." Like, good game though, good, best of luck, and then I leave.
I do also like how you always put the puck on the blocker for him.
Yeah, I always like
Yeah.
smooth talk the refs. There's no
No, you
reason
have
not
to.
to. There's no reason not to.
No, I agree with you 100%. Katie a long time ago pointed out how she picks it up and hands them to the ref. I go, the more you butter them up, the better it's going to be for you,
Totally.
especially the way she plays. Um, so now this year you have some freshmen that came in and have taken pretty prominent roles with Allie Lalonde, Ella Blackmore, and then on defense Riley Jones, especially the last 6 or 8 games. Riley Jones has been in a lot more like power play minutes and more ice time. And so now seeing that as a fifth year, Are you like, oh, look at the little birds leaving the nest?
Like, yes, it's like so cute to see these freshmen doing so well, and like I I mean, just because she's a defenseman, like I especially love Jonesy. Like she's
Yeah,
just so cute and perfect, and I'm really happy with the way she plays. I think like defensively she's sound. I
yeah,
always know what she's gonna do. And then it's really fun to see the other freshmen kind of like their playing styles really come to life, and like now I know like their strengths, like, and it's cool to see like how from like day one to now how much they've not necessarily like improved. Like I'm sure they've improved, but like they've just felt like it looks like they feel more comfortable to play like to their
for sure.
strengths, and I think that's really cool.
Well, it's a big transition going from your parents' house to college, right? And then it's you're not you're not the big stud at your program because everyone that goes to a D1 program was probably a stud at their high school program or their prep
Mhm.
school, and now all of a sudden you're like, hey, you're you're struggling for fourth line minutes, so how about you zip it, and I know the systems that you guys employ are not the most straightforward for someone coming in, so it's a lot, you know.
Totally. I mean, that's you hit it on the head. Like everyone that's coming in was first line, and for some people it takes a little bit of a it's a bit of a pill to swallow, but I think especially this year's class, they've done a really good job of adapting. And like you said, our systems are hard, so like, they're just learning. They're just babies. They're figuring it out.
Like little Bambi deers going out in the ice. That's what it is till they get
Oh,
their legs.
totally.
So when I talked to some of your teammates, they talked about your humor, how you're an outdoorsy person, hiking, uh, the backbone of our team, one of the most easygoing people I've ever met, which is a cool quality for a goalie. They talked about how you bring so much joy to the team. And then when I asked you, the coaches, so I always ask Coach Carp for 3 words to describe the players: leader, competitor, and selfless. That was what he said. And he said the craziest part is how you came in, thinking you were going to be the starter, and then you stuck it out, even though you were a stud, which is, I mean, you could just hear Carp saying that, right? And your good friend Abby texted me how she overslept. So feel free to give her grief for this for till the end of time. Miss Responsible overslept and never got back to me. I told you she was celebrating. She had she was up past 11 watching the Lions, and it just messed up her whole cycle. She's gonna have to eat extra sweet potatoes to catch up.
Oh, Abby.
So you and Abby with the biking, how did that come about? And is it true that you guys just happened to go bike riding on the Pan Mass Challenge that day?
Like 100%. My dad had done this bike ride where he like took him and some of his buddies like biked and camped. And like my dad is not like he figured out a path that was entirely downhill for like hundreds of miles, and then he took a train back. So like that
All right. So
sliding path,
between that story and the duct taping of the pads, I think me and your dad would get on pretty well.
he's a pretty interesting guy. So he did that, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Like I like to bike. He bought me a pretty nice bike a few years ago. I mean, technically he bought it for my mom for their anniversary, but he bought me a pair of shoes for the bike. So he bought me a bike. I was like, oh, like it'd be cool to go to P Town, like bike to P Town. That's doable. And I just
So
was like,
wait, you guys had never so prior to this, what was like your distance that you had done? Were you doing any distances, or you just were like, hey, I know it's 2 hours by car, but I can ride it.
like no, I'd bike around the city.
Okay.
One time I was like bored and there was like like a nature thing, like 40, I think round trip was like 45, 50 miles. And I did that. And I was like, that's not that bad. Like I took my time. And so I want to go to P-Town. I've never been there. And you can bike and take the ferry back. Like that
Yeah.
sounds sweet. And so I knew Abby was just kind of like, she was getting into biking. I also know Abby's always down for a good time. So I texted her and I was like, I'll plan it. Like, I'll figure it out. Like, let's do this. And she was on board. And the day of, I went to go to a bike store to buy like a water pouch. And he
Mhm.
was like, oh, you're doing the Pan Mass Challenge? And I was like, no, what is that? No, like, give me my water bottle. And so I like left, didn't ask any questions because I didn't know what he was talking about. And We start biking and there's like a million people with us. There's signs everywhere that's like, thank you for like raising the money. There's people with cowbells cheering us on. I'm like, what is happening? And little
The
did I know.
doghouse really travels well. They're out here supporting me and Abby.
Yeah, it was cool. And like some of the bikers were like impressed with what we were doing because we had all of our gear on our back and stuff. And I was like,
Oh, okay.
no, we're doing this in like 3 days. You're doing this in like a few hours. So
Yeah.
it was a fun trip. And then we took the ferry back. But
When she told me that, I was like, come on. Because we had her on to promote her actually doing the Pan Mass.
yeah,
And she told that story. And I'm like, this sounds like an urban legend. She's like, I swear it's the truth.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, 100% an accident. I'd never even heard of it before.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
All right. I got the lightning round. Oh, but one just popped in my head. Do you talk to your posts?
No, but the other day there was a puck that was trickling through my legs, and Meg tucked it behind
Yeah,
me.
I
I
saw
gave
that.
I gave her a big kiss on the cheek.
I was just curious. All right, so we got the team ones first. Who's the best dress on the team? The game day walk-ins. Who's the star of the show?
Lily B.
Yeah. That one's consistent. I got to change that up because it's the same answer every time. Who's the biggest on ice chirper on the team? This is the Tessa Ward Memorial question.
Yeah, okay. If it can't go to test anymore, and I don't think we have a big chirper, but Molly Griffin laid one on an OSU girl at the NCAA's last year, and it is like notoriously the funniest thing that has ever been said.
Nice. All
Comes
right.
up regularly.
You're named in that quite a bit, you know.
What?
Yeah, you're one of the ones. And this next one, is there someone on the team that keeps the team loose? You get that one too.
Really, I'd give that one to, again, like Lily B, even like Peyton A.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Who I had to change the phrasing of this question because I was like, who's the toughest to go against in drills? And everybody's like, no one. But who makes you better by going against them in some of the drills that you guys do? Or who's the most challenging for you?
This one, and I tell her this all the time. For whatever reason, Molly Griffin scores on me more than anyone, and she doesn't have the hardest shot. She doesn't have the quickest release, but there's something about her that like it's annoying that she scores on me the most.
They're saying that there's always for every goalie, there's a shooter that they can't figure out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there really is, and she's mine. So I mean, Peyton A scores on me a lot too because freshman year I told her where my weakness was, and she
All right,
used to set
let's
against
not
me.
say that out loud. In your opinion, who's the best skater on the team?
Like I don't know. I guess I'd say Meg. I feel like
Okay.
she doesn't take a lot of strides, but she just moves.
Yeah, she trucks. Yeah.
She just trucks.
Who's the best dancer? Because I know the way you guys, every TV timeout, it's crazy the amount of dancing that goes on with your squad.
I would assume most people say Lily B.
Yeah, I think she gets a lot of
She
those.
gets a lot. Yeah, she's more of a
It's
lot
funny.
dancer.
I will say between her being like the best dressed and the dancer, the way she plays does not they don't compute. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll give you that one. That is interesting.
Best hands, sickest angles.
Sometimes Peyton A will just do
Okay.
something that's like disgusting.
Yeah. Well,
Even she like looks confused after it. So.
Do you have any pregame rituals or superstitions, things that you like to have laid out ahead of time, or?
I have like my warm up that I do, and like it's like a juggling thing that I picked up this year, and I won't like move on until I ace the pattern.
Okay.
That's
Oh.
been new, and that's kind of annoying because then it's like, okay, I'm stuck here juggling because I can't get this pattern. And then superstition, I like don't know if I have. Turns out I put all my like every time I put my stuff on, like it's always my right leg first, which I think is just like what I do. I don't think it's superstition, but now that I notice it, I probably won't change that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not terribly superstitious.
One person on the team that you need, no matter the time, place, wherever, your car breaks down in the middle of Brighton at 3 a.m. Who you calling?
Car breaks down at 3 a.m. Ooh. Man. Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. For some reason, I want to say Peyton C. I feel like
Okay.
she would be able to like figure it out for me or something.
Oh, with Abby oversleeping, I understand why she wasn't your choice. Coach Carp is on the blue. This is a different question for the goalie. Coach Carp's on the blue line with 10 pucks. How many is he getting past you?
How often does he listen to these?
It doesn't matter. You say whatever you want. There's no. I mean,
0.
what's he gonna do?
0. What
Of
do we say?
course, yeah, of
0.
course. That's a layup. Those questions. All right. So these ones are. This is the real lightning round where it gets all over the place. Your favorite cartoon character?
Like anyone from
Yeah.
Ed and Eddie.
Okay. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you pick?
I think I'd stick with Boston.
All right. All right. Kind of a sucking up to the crowd, but all right.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding. So we talked about this a little bit. What is your favorite and least favorite rinks to play in? Matthews out of it.
Matthews out of it. Then I'm gonna go with Wally B for favorite. Least favorite, Providence.
Okay.
Maybe Maine, but I think Providence.
Celebrity crush? Do you have a celebrity crush?
Anyone in Hollywood with the name Ryan. They're all really good. Gosling, Reynolds, you name it.
All right, fair enough. What is a skill that you don't possess that you would love to master?
Oh, I think it'd be really cool to be really good at basketball.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I've never got that answer from a hockey player. That's a good one.
I want to be good at it.
I feel like that's an achievable one for you.
Well, I tried unicycling and that didn't work out. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, if you master unicycling, I believe that there are leagues where they play basketball on unicycles.
I would not doubt that. That's the potential.
Your go-to pizza topping?
Pepperoni with ranch dipping sauce.
Okay. Do you use on your paddle black tape or white?
On the blade, I use black. Paddle, I just use just the grip that's on there.
Okay. Do you go on the blade? Do you go heel to toe or toe to heel when you tape it?
Heel to toe.
Guilty pleasure TV show or your most recent binge?
Oh, I just watched the Epstein Files show on Netflix.
Was that good? I feel like that'd be sad and depressing.
It was sad and depressing, and I like got into it, and I was like, I'm just gonna play in the background now because I wanted to know. I wanted to be able to have those conversations that people are like, I didn't know enough about it.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I know too much.
It's funny that you say that because I watched recently. There's a Netflix thing on the guy who founded Uber, who I had never heard of. I'm a little too old. I missed the whole Uber thing, and I had never heard of him or anything. And it was Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I like as an actor, and the guy Kyle Chandler, I think his name is, another actor. I'm like, oh, they're good. I'll watch this. It was 6 episodes, and at the end, I'm like, oh, so they're all still billionaires? Like, it was so unsatisfying. I'm like, this was not. So I don't recommend that one. But
yeah, it doesn't sound like documentary worthy.
Yeah,
6 episodes. So.
Yeah, and then once you're halfway in, you're like, well, now I got to see how it ends because I didn't know the story. All right. Well, anyways, would you rather be able to speak any language in the world or have the ability to talk to animals?
I feel like I should say language, but I'm definitely gonna say talk to animals.
Yeah, I agree. Start, bench, or cut. This is the NCAA version of Mary. So start, bench, or cut. Pancakes, waffles, French toast.
Cut, waffles, bench, French toast, start. Pancakes.
Okay. Is there a current? Well, you said you don't really watch a whole lot of NHL. I was going to ask if there's a current NHL player that reminds you of your game, your style.
No,
I will say that I think the Fleury one is a pretty good comp because I think your personality and how he is, I think that kind of makes it similar, and you're both very good goalies. So I think that's a good comp. I really do.
Okay, I'll go with that one then.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
All right, good. I'm glad you answered that. So, the leadership group: you, Noel, Carter, and Abby. What are the breeds? Like, what's Carter? What's Katie? What's Abby?
Oh, Abby is like she's. I think it's not a Cocker Spaniel, but she's some kind of spaniel.
Okay.
I think like kind of like a long-eared but like very trustworthy, well-behaved kind of dog,
Okay.
like solid dog. Meg and Katie, one of them needs to be kind of like a bulldozer dog, I think, just by the style that they play.
Okay.
Um, man, so I don't know, but they're also like very like good, like structured people. So it's not like they're a bulldog like drooling. They're like maybe it's like a eloquent like bull mastiff, one of those like
Okay.
big
Good one.
dogs,
Yeah.
the show one. I want to say like
Okay.
ah, then they got the intelligence of the poodle. I don't. That's a tough one. They're very different. You'd be surprised, I think, with like their. Well, you probably know, but their personality versus like their play style. So it's kind
Right.
of
Oh
hard to
no, that's
compare.
usually the way it is. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
what would you say would be the breed that would represent you the best? Oh, we're getting a cameo. There he is.
Probably a French bulldog. I'm told that me and my dog are pretty similar. So
That's a great picture.
yeah.
All right, just a couple more. Would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Horse-sized duck.
Okay. What's your favorite pastime not hockey related?
Not to toot my own horn, but I've gotten really into reading recently, and I'm
Okay.
feeling like quite the intellect.
All right. All right. No,
Yeah.
that's good. Any books you want to recommend? Anything? What type? Well, what genre?
Well, a bunch like me, Murph, and a bunch of the teammates, we've been getting into like a thriller vibe. So,
Okay.
we're all like geeking over The Silent Patient. It's pretty good. Just read Daisy Jones and the Six,
Okay.
but based off like Fleetwood Mac and like
Yep.
it was cool. So yeah.
So a little bit of everything. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Who would you pick to play you in a movie about your life?
This wouldn't be fitting, but Blake Lively, just because she's so pretty, I want to
Oh,
be
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yep. Um, just a few more. Pick a superpower. What would be your superpower?
flying.
Flying. Okay. With wings or just like Superman?
Just like Superman. I don't think I
Okay.
want wings.
If you had a music festival with any band or artist, living or dead, give me your top three. The Phillips
Uh,
Festival.
so I've gone to a couple of music festivals, so I would say Miley Cyrus.
Okay.
Post Malone is very good, and um, I would say Childish Gambino. Like I don't listen to him that much, but he's just such a good performer that his show is unreal.
Did you ever watch the show Atlanta that he did?
No.
You should check that out. You might like that. It's a little offbeat. Some really good actors in it, and I think it's either 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah. Okay,
But
I'll try
yeah,
it. Yeah,
that's a good one.
he like his show was just really cool.
All right, cool. And then last one, the most famous person in your phone.
Like probably like Alina or Aaron.
Yeah, no, that's fine. They're both famous. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I wish it was someone like really cool, but I mean they're pretty cool.
all right. Oh, that's pretty good. All right. Well, that's all we got for you. That's all we got for this episode of the Northeastern Huskies on our YouTube channel, available on all your platforms. Up next for the Huskies is the first round of the Beanpot
Yeah.
tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow night. I'm not sure when this is going to come out, so we'll just assume that you guys dusted Harvard and you're moving on. And I just want to thank you for coming on. And like I say all the time, pound for pound, the best hockey entertainment value is at historic Matthews Arena to watch the Northeastern women's hockey. I mean, you can't beat it in the best barn probably in the country. So for Brownie, for Gwyneth Philips, signing off. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks.
This is where it always goes south. I'm not the guy who normally hits the buttons. There we go.